Alright, welcome back to Duty's Daggers. Today we are cut testing with the Hinderer XM18 3.5 inch Spanto blade. This is the most expensive knife in my collection, with the added mods with the textured titanium scale and the hardware. Most expensive knife in my collection, so I was a little hesitant to put it through a cut test, but then I actually thought about it, and this knife is built so unbelievably sturdy that there's no way I would be able to damage it. And it's got the stonewash blade and lock side, so any scratches would be hidden pretty much. So I decided to go for it, and I really just want to know what this thing can do. So we're starting with the thin regular gauge cardboard. Holding it choked back first. My worry is that the cardboard's going to slip into the finger choil and kind of stop your cut, and that was the case. If you're not careful to keep the cardboard, in between the tip and the sharpening choil, then you're fine. If you want to just not have to worry about it, just put your finger up in the choked up spot so that the cardboard can't get caught in there. Easily went through this stuff. Not as easily as some knives, but yeah, no problem. This is notoriously thick behind the edge, as all Hinderers. This is the Spanto blade shape is one of the thicker behind the edge of the Hinderer blades. So here we are with the thick cardboard, the double thickness, and boy, it had a hard time going through this. Not because of the sharpness of the blade, but because of the thickness of the blade. And the thickness behind the edge. Had to put a lot of pressure into these cuts. And it was going through, but it took a lot. And that's what I expected. Still pretty comfortable in the hand though. Both choked back and choked up. No huge hot spots. Still got a little bit of a bite to it, so we're testing it on the magazine. Still going pretty easily through. It's not the cleanest slicer of paper ever, but yeah, still able to do it. Doing some food prep style cutting on this rubber tubing, and it actually did kind of well for a food prep style knife. Not the best of any knife, but having that Spanto blade shape, you almost have that secondary edge towards the tip where you can kind of start your chop and then kind of roll it down where it transitions to the straight part of the edge, and it actually kind of works for a food prep type of task. Alright, and then I think we are moving on to the bungee. Let's see here. Yes, the bungee cord. This is not super hard to go through. Most knives go through it just fine. But it's a good test when I do the chopping down on the wood into little pieces. There's very fine strands that are around the outside of the bungee. And if a knife's not sharp, it will not really cut through those. It'll go through the initial bungee, but it won't really cut the outside very thin strands. But this one was doing fine. Yeah, Hinderer was doing fine with this. I say fine, but, with every cut that I did, I could tell that it was very thick behind the edge. Just checking to see if the action had changed to any, and had not. Still uber smooth. No blade play. With having these external stop pins really adds to the stability of the whole construction. I was really not worried at all, especially towards the end of the video. You'll see I get a little crazy. Alright, we're cutting up the old glove. Let's do this. Knives have a problem with this. If they have lost an edge by now, but this did not bad at all. Really not bad at all. It's a lot of layers of leather. And while I did have to put a good amount of pressure into it, it did fine. A little bit of a sawing motion on the second one, but clean cuts. A little bit more of a sawing motion on the third one. So I can tell, you know, the bite is going away a little. More sawing, a little bit more sawing, but still getting through it. There you go. Action's still good. A little bit of bite left. I can tell now that it's, you know, the cutting has definitely taken an effect on the edge, but we're still able to go through the paper. Not as cleanly, but it's going. Now I forgot to grab the edge killer, the polypropylene rope. I didn't, you know, my expectations weren't very high for this part of the test. This is a hard test on the knives. The best knife so far that I've tested on this rope is the Vosteed Nightshade, just because the angle of the edge, almost like a pair of scissors, was trapping the rope and just slicing it. So here we go, putting my all into it, and it just was not happening. Trying again, same spot, not happening. You can see it got maybe a third of the way through, and that's it. I was really putting a ton of pressure into it, and it was just not happening. So you know, the Spanto blade shape it says on the Hinderer site that it's meant for prying. If you need to pry with your knife, you should do it with this one. And so I decided to stab the tip into the wood and do a little bit of prying on the tip. Knocked my phone over. I would never do this with any other knife, but the thick is so unbelievably thick on this Spanto that I wasn't worried about it. So stabbed it in a few times. No issue at all. This thing is just a take, man, you know. Probably the toughest knife, at least the toughest folding knife that I own by far. I've said it before, if I was going into battle, I would take this knife, you know. Day to day as an EDC, you know, not the best choice, but it is undeniably just badass, you know. This is part of the reason that I love it, you know. It's cool to have something so beefy and thick and big, but also so smooth and easy to deploy and just unbelievably drop shut. You know, it's kind of it's just cool. It feels good. So I gotta say, you know, it performed pretty much as I expected, possibly even a little better than I expected. You know, again, on the double thickness cardboard, really had trouble, and going through that rope, the polypropylene rope, did not do well at all. But on everything else, really not bad. And you know, there was just zero effect on the knife after all this testing. Zero effect besides the edge. You know, lockup was completely and totally solid. Action exactly the same, just butter smooth. This knife is built to withstand just very rigorous tasks. And what I put it through today was really nothing in comparison to what it could handle. And it feels good to have a tough knife like that. Thanks for watching. Adios.